Alright, well, we're back for day 2 today, and unfortunately the weather forecast is not looking very good. So I'm kind of in a little dilemma here to try to figure out what I'm going to do, but for sure today I'm going to roll this dirt that I put in yesterday to kind of make sure I have my level right, or as close as it's going to get, because this dirt, especially if we get the kind of rain that it's going to be coming maybe tonight, then the dirt's going to kind of move around a little bit and I'm going to have to fix some things. But I really don't want to put down a whole bunch of seed now, have it all wash all over the place. So I think I'm going to maybe delay that just a couple days here. But first, I do need to try to roll this dirt into place, kind of pack it a little bit down. So I got my friend the old roller again today, and we're going to see how this works out and see if we can kind of perfect the level a little bit. So there's a possibility that you could have done something like a sand mix of some kind. You could have done maybe like a majority sand, 70% or so, and mixed with some peat moss actually in there, or compost, something like that. But the reason that I just went with this is just because this topsoil is exactly like my native soil, and when I first do this, I kind of wanted to not blend those things together. Now when I start to top dress to like kind of perfect this thing, over time, then I'll be using some sand, but it's in much lighter layers, so we don't create layers in the soil like just a bunch of sand and then you got a bunch of your regular soil, because those things don't really work together. And also, sand is just a little bit harder to establish things into. So remember that sand doesn't have any nutrients to it, so you would have to mix it with either something like peat moss or compost, kind of give it some nutrients there, and then you'd have to make sure you were getting the fertilizers to it right away, because the sand will not naturally have any nutrients there for it. So it dries out a little bit faster as well, and then this dirt will just hold a little bit of moisture better for me. So at this point, I know that probably the level is not going to be absolutely perfect on my first try here. I'm just going to get it the best that I can, and then we'll start to perfect that level with light applications of sand over time, and those will happen over a couple of seasons probably to get it really nice. And if you start with the sand top dressing, then really you're going to have to continue to do that. Things will shift over time and the ground moves a little bit during our winters, so it's just going to kind of be what it is. But so far I'm seeing that I'm going to need to add a little bit on some low spots, see what it looks like from there. Well, it's the morning after our supposed monsoon, and I don't think really it rained all that much, but I'm going to go look here, kind of take a peek at the ground and see what it looks like. For the most part here, I think it turned out okay. Luckily, most of our rain was just kind of like showers off and on through the night. It wasn't super heavy at any point that I really saw. Of course, I was sleeping at some point too, but yeah, I think it turned out okay. Kind of showed me a few more of the low spots that are in there, so I'm going to be adding a little more dirt to those, try to get things as level as I can. And so there's a couple of low spots I got to work on, but let this dry out a little bit first. I found that actually these rakes that have kind of this plastic bottom to them work a little bit better than like the ones that have the metal tines for certain things, and especially when you're trying to actually grab onto something on the top layer and kind of pull it towards you. Those metal ones tend to like let things fall through, but these plastic ones I find work a little bit better. Alright, so let's take a look now at this side. And then versus this side. Alright, so here's what we're left with. And it's looking pretty good actually. I got most of the debris out of there. Not as flat as I would like it yet, but I've got some more soil to go in there first. So we'll see what happens after that. And that'll be coming as soon as I can get this to just dry out just a little bit. So I'm back at it today for day 3 of still working on this dirt. And yes, you might call me a perfectionist. I don't even know if that term is probably strong enough. And my wife could tell you that for sure. She drives her nuts most of the time. But so I'm just trying to get this fixed a little bit more, and I got the topsoil out of my truck today. It was in there when it was raining, so it's pretty wet, so I'm not really going to be able to spread that as well. So I think I'm just going to lay it out on the lawn, or lay it out on this soil first here, and then let that dry out, and then hopefully come out. And there's just kind of like a roller coaster area through there where there's some high spots, low spots, high spots, low spots, and I just want to kind of try to fix that if I can. Alright, so I got my dirt spread and I got a couple final piles to kind of flatten out here. But what I like about that leveling tool is that the width of it really helps you to kind of set it on your high spot and then drag it across your low spot, and the flatness of it just kind of takes everything, flattens it out into that low spot, and it works really well. Now some people are asking me, how does that compare to like a garden rake? Well, you don't have that same width. You don't have that same exact flat surface, so yes, you can use a rake and get things leveled fairly well that way, but just because of the width of this and how it drags across there and takes the high spots and just kind of flattens everything all at once, it works really well for that. So I understand it's kind of an expensive tool. For me, I know long term that I have a bunch of top dressing and different leveling that I'm going to be doing over time, so I just decided to kind of go for it now, knowing that I'll be using it a lot in the future as well. So you can kind of see right here is our high spot, and so when I drag across here, spread out this dirt. So you can see right here where high just flattens everything out through that middle part there. Alright, well there it is. So I did pretty much the best that I feel like I can do at this point. And over time, as I said, I'm just going to have to fix the little tiny spots that are kind of little divots here and there. But I did the best to smooth everything out, and next step is seeding.